Hi book friends, my name is Alexis and today I'm going to be talking about the most disappointing reads and the worst books I have read in 2022. Recently inspired because I read a book about a month ago that was just the absolute, probably one of the worst books I've ever read, in general, point blank period. All the books I've ever read, which is like 400 plus books that I know of, just a horrible book. And I want to talk about it so badly. There are quite a few books I just really want to talk about because they've just been eating at my brain. We're going to talk about this in chronological order from when I read the books. So we're going to start with the beginning of the year and then work till now. So let's just get straight into it. This is an unpopular opinion, and I know I'm not the only one with this opinion, but I still know I'm in the minority here, and that is I did not like The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. I'm sorry. I wanted to like this so badly. I can't express how badly I wanted to like this book. One, the cover is adorable. I love the art on the cover, the color scheme, and then also I was just so sold. It's a workplace, enemies to lovers, they go to Spain, there's fake dating, like that sounded like my cup of tea. And everyone did me dirty. Everyone's recommending this book so much, and I just did not like it. I actually bought this book in March of this year, right before I went on spring break, because I really wanted a fun romance book to read, and this was not it. First of all, when I got into the first chapter itself is written very weird and not like any of the other chapters in literally the entire rest of the book. This is non-spoilery, by the way. Second of all, there's so much banter, it's painful. 10 pages of straight banter. It's not funny. It's not fun. I did not enjoy that. I didn't like just watching them have the same argument for 10 pages in a row. It was repetitive and just frustrating. I felt like it was very clear from the beginning that Aaron, the love interest, was trying to be a really nice guy and was trying to be really nice to her and stuff, and she just kind of couldn't accept that. So it was frustrating. And on top of that, not a big fan of the dialogue and how it's written. A lot of my issues with this book really went down to the writing and the story more than the whole novel. I feel like a different book by this author could be really good for me. I think I'm going to give her next book a try, but it was just this book because they're enemies, and the author obviously really liked the thing, the trope of you don't like each other, so you say each other's last names until an intimate moment, and then you say each other's first names for the first time, and it's oh, swoon, he called her by her first name. This book was trying to do that, but at the end of every sentence, they use each other's names. Every sentence, blah, 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 Blackford, blah, 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 Catalina. It was happening 2 to 3 times in a row. I also noticed it with the best friend side character. The best friend side character called her sweetie repetitively. And I was just sad. I didn't like the plot very much. I didn't like that it took so long for them to get to Spain. I did like her family. There were a few scenes I thought were cute. I don't know. A lot of people on Bookstagram are hyping up a few scenes in this book. This is mild spoilery, doesn't really spoil the plot, but little scenes. There was a fish taco scene, and I saw a lot of people really hyping it up, and I was like, this is gonna be really cute. It just didn't live up. The last thing I'll say about this book, and I would like to just point out first a big trigger warning for this book, is disordered eating, eating disorders, and of that like. So I would just say if you're very sensitive about those topics, just to go ahead and just not read this book, because it deals with this topic in the worst way. So the main character struggles with disordered eating thoughts, handled so poorly. The first, chunk of the book, she really has really intense disordered eating patterns and behaviors and thoughts, and then all of a sudden the love interest is just you're beautiful, you should eat, and she's just he's right, and all of a sudden it's the problem's gone. This is something that frustrates me to no end in literature and books of any kind. I really hate when there's a mental health problem or any type of problem, and then a person just swoops in, like a man, any love interest, any friend, whatever, just swoops in and is you're beautiful, you don't need to have eating disordered issues, and then it's just gone. And that's what this book was, and that was really upsetting to me, and I saw a few reviews mentioning it before going in, and I was just really hoping it wouldn't be that bad, but it was bad. So the second book I don't actually have a copy of, fortunately or unfortunately, but that's right here, and it is Chasing After Night. This is actually the book I was talking about in the intro. This was the train wreck book for me. So I was really excited about this book because the pitch was like childhood best friends to we're not talking anymore, to finding each other again, to falling in love, and one of them is a movie star and the other's just like an ordinary girl. And I was like, that sounds cute. I love me a YA contemporary novel, and I was really excited about this one. And it was not it. For reference, hopefully this shows up for you. Like, this is the list of things I had to ignore the bomb part. This is everything I had to say about the book. Like, it was atrocious. So first of all, it was kind of, the relationship wasn't good. It was not a cute book. It was a very frustrating book with a lot of plot issues and just technicality issues. I will say this is going to be kind of spoilery. So if you really do want to read this book, I say go for it, but I feel like I can't explain why this book is bad without explaining some of the details. So like, just a heads up. First of all, so the kind of thing is, here's Alexa and here is Caden, I think is his name. And he's a bad boy and he's famous and he's in movies. And she's like putting it together and she's like, the thing I did to him in our childhood, which I won't say because I'll leave some mystery. The thing I did to him in our childhood must have traumatized him so bad that that's why he's a bad boy now. So I need to fix his reputation. So she uses her college fund to spread good gossip about him. Quite literally $1,000 of her college fund, buying people like dinner and being like, this is from Caden McKnight. Alexa also has no personality. Her only personality is they kind of go for this like, she's studying for the ACT, she's super smart, doesn't know what she wants to do with her life type of vibe, but it's just kind of not mentioned very much. She doesn't really have a lot going on. What she does have going on though is bartending as a minor. I wish I could make this up. She bartends as a minor for a chapter as a way to get into a bar that Caden's going to be at. She also flies alone, buys a ticket for a plane trip behind her parents' back and flies alone to go try to talk to Caden. She also at one point drives a stranger's car home at 1 a.m. to bait Caden into following her so he can protect her, so she can like prove he still cares. Again, they are also both like 17 years old. Caden might be 18, but you know, they're literally children. Then we get to 73% and they still have not had a pleasant interaction. And this is kind of just like, there's so much more I can talk about here, but the biggest thing I want to point out at this point is like, if she was a boy, we would all say that she was a stalker and she was creepy and this was inappropriate. Flying like a state away to like talk to someone you haven't talked to in a decade. She at one point literally chases after him, like runs after him when he's trying to get away from her, sneaking into bars that she knows he's gonna be at. Like, if she was a man, we would say she's a stalker and she's creepy. But because she is 17-year-old white girl Alexa Brooks, we're not gonna say anything. Like, that's kind of what the book gives. And she also just has the most like wealthy, white, privileged girl energy. It's absolutely atrocious, the whole book. But up until 73% of the book, like I said, she's doing all these things, bartending as a minor, stalking this teenage boy, just all these things. And at 73% in, she physically chases him down and they end up kissing and all of a sudden they love each other. They haven't had one single pleasant interaction this whole book. Every interaction they've had, they have been mad at each other, fighting each other. He's ignoring her. She's physically like, you know, it's all bad. But 73% in and she like says something to him and he's like, oh, I love you. And they like kiss and stuff. At this point, she drops her entire life for this boy. She has like some side character friends and she was actually also, she was dating someone when this book started. She was dating a whole nother man. And she's chasing after this, so here's him, and she's chasing after this other Canaan guy, and it's just ignoring her boyfriend. It was ridiculous. But we get to the 73% mark. They kiss, blah, 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 and she just starts dropping and ignoring all of her friends. And now we're going to get to the climax, which was as much of a train wreck as the rest of the book. So she drops her entire life, all of her friends, whatever, for this boy. Then prom comes, and she's on student council, and her one single responsibility was to hire the DJ. Guess what she forgets? Ding, ding, ding. To hire the DJ. So this, so you can tell, I'm very heated about this book. So then, after she forgets to hire the DJ, all of her friends are really mad at her. And, you know, the ex-boyfriend's like, you strung me along. The best friend's like, you really messed up. Like, you know, everyone's mad at her. And then she goes home and proceeds to throw her phone against a wall. I don't think it actually shattered, but I was just like, all right, sweetheart. You know, here's the total climax. Everyone finds out, you know, she bartended as a minor. She's sneaking the boyfriend like behind her parents' back, dropping $1,000 of her college savings. It's like, boo-hoo, all my friends hate me, reasonably so. My parents are mad at me, reasonably so. Kaden and her also get into an argument for whatever reason, and I genuinely cannot remember why, but they did, so that's kind of a whole thing. So like everyone's having a bad time, and then I guess I'm blanking, it's been a minute, but essentially our conclusion to this whole train wreck is she does not get grounded or anything. Instead, rich movie star boyfriend Kaden shows up, contributes $2,000 to her college fund to make up for everything she spent. We find out that for whatever reason, he always gets the rights to his movie titles so he can make them clues about her, which just, that's just not how that works, right? Like we all understand that's not how that works. And he like contacts someone and gets her into the college she just got rejected from. I wish I could make this up. It was just the worst, most confusing, most train wreck, did not make sense book I have read, and I was so upset because I thought the premise sounded absolutely adorable. But there's like a million different issues with this book. I also think she stole a car from her school once, and I don't remember her ever getting in trouble for that. I think the most that really happened with punishment-wise is I think she got kicked out of student council, which like, reasonably so because she forgot to do the DJ, but then also the whole thing with that was like the bartending money, she tried to donate it to the school. She was like, my parents can't find out that I bartended as a minor, so send my paycheck to the student government program at my school and they'll get the money. And then they're like, we literally can't accept a paycheck of you bartending as a minor, and then they like call her parents. So then she like gets kicked out of student council. And then, you know, boyfriend swoops in and saves everything. So like it didn't matter anyways. Thank you a lot to Penguin Teen for sending me an arc of that book. I feel really bad roasting it and then saying thank you, but I do just want to acknowledge that I did receive an e-arc of it via NetGalley from Penguin Teen. So thank you, Penguin, for giving me the chance to read this book because I was really excited. But sadly, for like a lot of reasons, this was just not it. The third and final book we're going to be talking about today is If You Change Your Mind by, I think it's Robbie Weber. I'm sad about this one. I literally read it about a week ago from when I'm filming right now, and I was really excited about it, and it just didn't work out. I really like Robbie's content on Instagram, so I was really excited about this book because also it seemed like a really cute queer summary read, and I thought it was gonna be fun. So I not only one do I have an e-arc of it, so thank you a lot to the publisher for that, but I also got to it a little late, so I listened to it on audiobook, which definitely I think did impact my reading experience, sadly. And one, I just didn't really vibe with the narration, but then after that we just got into the story, and again, wasn't loving it. I did end up DNFing it at about 30%, but like that's like all the notes I have from 30%. Everything was really conscious of thought and written in the way you send a text message. And by that I mean lots of but whatevers, or you know how it is. Like, you know how it is thrown in the middle of like internal dialogue. So he'd be like, I really want a milkshake, but someone else doesn't, but whatever. And things just like that. It was like really weird verbiage in the conscious of thought. The main character, I forget his name already. That's probably not great. I think Harry. He was just not it. He was very rude and very hypocritical. He had like a best friend. I think her name was Haley. And he did one of my biggest pet peeves in the world, which is telling someone who is anxious that they shouldn't be anxious or they don't need to worry. I just think that's a really insensitive thing to do when he does that to her at one point. He also dismisses his friend's worries. She was worried about like getting cutest couple in the yearbook. Completely dismisses her and it's like, it's gonna be fine. But then when he voices his worries and she dismisses him back, it gets like really deeply personally offended and is like really angry at her for like, how dare she not be there for me when I'm talking about how scared I am I'm not gonna get into my dream college. But also like, it's just super hypocritical, and he's like that the whole time that I read, at least. He was really rude. He went off on one of the love interests like in the second scene, and it was like kind of miscommunication trope, but it was also like he was just trying to hook up a gay guy and tried to like set him up with a girl, and then got offended at him when he wasn't like super jiving with the girl and like went off on him in like the car they're in. And then the guy, his name's Logan, is just like, I don't want to date females. You're literally yelling at me. Didn't like that. So at the end of every chapter, there's like a screenwriting portion because the main character is a screenwriter, and it just kind of sucked Like it sucked, not like it wasn't bad. Let me rephrase that. It sucked me out of the story. Every time we go from the story and then all of a sudden we're in like story B at the end of every chapter, it just really threw off my pacing and it really threw me out of the story. I will say there was no plot. The only like kind of plot was the main character's writing a screenplay to try to win a contest. Maybe that's a plot later in the book, but otherwise it's really just completely character driven. There's not any external plot happening. The other thing with the writing, as I was mentioning, with like him being like, but whatever, and like stuff, is for some reason they kept saying tongue in cheek. Like he responded with his tongue in his cheek. I responded with my tongue in my cheek, and it got on my nerves. The only positives I really have for this book is one, the cover is absolutely super cute. And also queer joy. I mean, it was nice like reading a book about queer joy where the characters got to be queer and embrace their sexualities without the story being about their struggles. But like that was unfortunately it for me. I don't know if this book just wasn't for me or I don't know. At least it wasn't for me. I do think there are people out there who would enjoy this book. I don't necessarily think it's like the worst book ever. I just think you have to be a reader who is very into character-driven novels, love triangles, because I forgot to mention there is a love triangle, and just, you know, it's for a specific type of reader, and that specific type of reader was not me. Right, so those were the 3 books that, my worst books of 2022 so far. And honestly, considering there's only 3 of them, I can't even pretend that's bad. Honestly, having only 3 worst books is a pretty good number to be at, so I'm kind of happy about that. I would love to hear your opinions about these books. I really want to just like see what other people have thought because I feel really, you know, alone here. I feel like my opinions are kind of unpopular. So if you've read these books, please let me know. If you want to talk about these books or any books or suggest a book for me that you think might be a little better than these, I will gladly take any advice. So thank you guys for watching.